Have you ever wondered how a small island nation could become a focal point in the tug-of-war between global superpowers? Today, we dive into the riveting journey leading up to the 2024 Solomon Islands elections, a saga of geopolitical intrigue and domestic challenges. Known for being home to some of the most distinctively Melanesian people in the world, their culture and unique traits are captivating. Many locals, for instance, sport yellowish hair, which begins black but changes color as it grows, showcasing a striking natural phenomenon. Despite its picturesque landscapes, the Solomon Islands grapple with profound challenges that starkly contrast its serene appearance. Since gaining independence in 1978, this Pacific nation has struggled to find its footing on the economic and social global stage. Corruption runs rampant, deeply embedded in its political and institutional frameworks, making it one of the most corrupt nations in the Pacific. This endemic corruption has stifled growth and development, leaving the islands in a continuous state of economic fragility. The local populace faces high unemployment rates, with few opportunities for upward mobility. This lack of employment has not only perpetuated social misery, but also contributed to a burgeoning drug problem among the youth, desperate to escape the harsh realities of their daily lives. Furthermore, despite being an English-speaking nation, the Solomon Islands remain largely ignored by international media. This absence of coverage contributes to its obscurity, leaving its significant issues hidden from the world's eyes, and its cries for help mostly unheard. This backdrop of internal strife and unmet potential sets a complex stage for the geopolitical interests beginning to take notice, as larger nations eye strategic advantages in the region. The story begins in late 2022, when the Solomon Islands, under the leadership of Prime Minister Manasseh Sogavare, faced a critical decision. Australia stepped forward with an offer to finance the upcoming national elections, an offer that was promptly rejected by Sogavare. The Prime Minister labelled the gesture as inappropriate and an interference in domestic affairs, setting the stage for heightened tensions. This decision did not occur in isolation. It coincided with the Solomon Islands' deepening ties with China, marked by a controversial security pact. This shift alarmed traditional allies like Australia, New Zealand, and the United States, who viewed the growing Chinese influence with suspicion. The geopolitical landscape was changing, and the Solomon Islands found itself at the center. As 2023 rolled in, the plot thickened. In September, Australia announced its plan to send additional police forces to the Solomon Islands. This move was intended to bolster security not only for the Pacific Games scheduled for November, but also for the general elections the following year. The presence of Australian police alongside officers from Fiji, New Zealand, and Papua New Guinea was seen as a counterbalance to the Chinese influence, particularly after China had signed a policing agreement with the Solomon Islands. The most contentious decision came when the Solomon Islands Parliament passed a bill to delay the general elections from 2023 to 2024. Prime Minister Sogavare justified the delay by citing logistical challenges posed by hosting both the Pacific Games and the national elections in the same year. However, this move was met with fierce opposition. Critics accused Sogavare of attempting a power grab, and concerns were raised about the erosion of democratic principles. Despite initial rejections, the financial aid offer from Australia was later accepted, but the seeds of distrust had already been sown. The delay in elections, coupled with the strengthening of ties with China, led to fears of a shift towards authoritarian governance styles, contrasting sharply with the democratic norms traditionally upheld by the island nation. As the rescheduled election year of 2024 approached, all eyes were on the Solomon Islands. The elections were not just a local affair, but a litmus test for democracy in the face of growing international pressure and internal turmoil. The electoral process was fraught with challenges, including prolonged periods required to collect and count votes due to the archipelago's vast and dispersed geography. Additionally, there were significant concerns about the potential manipulation of voters and election results, casting a shadow over the integrity of the voting process. In the bustling political arena of the Solomon Islands, a new figure emerged with a promise to reshape the political landscape. Jeremiah Manele, a career politician who switched party affiliation several times, quickly became the main contender. As elections drew nearer, Manele's platform, advocating for anti-corruption measures and stronger economic independence, resonated deeply with a populace weary of political scandals and foreign interference. His nuanced approach to foreign relations, particularly with China, added layers to his political persona. Manele's government took a complex stance towards China, characterized by a deliberate balancing act. Unlike his predecessor, Manele advocated for a relationship with China that was cautious yet cooperative, aiming to leverage Chinese investments for economic benefits, while avoiding over-reliance that could compromise the island's sovereignty. This marked a shift from the previous administration's more straightforward pro-China alignment, which had led to concerns about excessive foreign influence in domestic affairs. Manele's ascent posed significant challenges, not least of which was the entrenched power of incumbent politicians like Manasseh Sogavare. Despite Sogavare's efforts to maintain control, his party struggled to secure a majority. As public sentiment shifted toward Manele's fresh perspective and promises of reform, the election results were a testament to the changing tides, with Manele's party gaining significant ground, though not outright victory. This delicate balance in foreign policy led to a diversification of international relations, opening dialogues with other Pacific nations and major powers, thereby enhancing the Solomon Islands' strategic significance in the Pacific region. This shift marked a critical juncture for the Solomon Islands, introducing opportunities for policy reform and international relations. As Manele prepares to navigate his role in this transformed political landscape, the Solomon Islands stands at the brink of a new era, potentially setting a precedent for democracy and openness in the region, or moving in the opposite direction. It might be hard for outsiders to understand the islanders' willingness to strengthen the connection with China. After all, China is a remote nation, with no historical or ethnic connection with the islands, with a highly questionable human rights status, and that isn't known for benefiting any others than their own. An explanation is that many islanders feel a sense of abandonment by Western nations, which they believe were only sporadically engaged with their needs, especially in times of economic hardship or natural disasters. This sentiment was exacerbated by the perceived indifference of neighboring Pacific nations, which often seemed preoccupied with their own challenges. Amidst this backdrop, China emerged as a proactive partner, quick to offer aid and investment. For many locals, Chinese involvement is seen not just in terms of economic benefits, but as a vote of confidence in their country's potential. The construction of roads, schools, and hospitals by Chinese companies is visible and impactful, contrasting sharply with the less tangible promises from other international players. This visibility fosters a feeling of kinship and gratitude towards China, overshadowing concerns about the long-term implications of such investments. Furthermore, personal relationships between Solomon Islanders and Chinese expatriates have flourished. Interactions in business, education, and community projects have fostered a mutual respect and understanding, weaving Chinese presence into the social fabric of the islands. These nuanced relationships complicate the geopolitical narrative, adding a human dimension to the diplomatic chessboard. As Jeremiah Manele steps into leadership, his challenge will be to navigate these deep-seated emotions and the geopolitical realities they engender. His approach to balancing these internal sympathies with the strategic needs of the Solomon Islands will be pivotal in shaping both his leadership and the future of the island's international relations. In the Solomon Islands, the rise of pro-China support has been both significant and contentious. This surge can largely be attributed to a sophisticated interplay of media influence and strategic misinformation. Chinese and China-owned companies who employ vast numbers of the Solomon Islanders have emerged as pivotal players in this narrative. These companies often serve dual roles as economic benefactors and political influencers, disseminating pro-China sentiments among the workforce. Much of the population are not fluent in English, speaking over 50 native languages, most of which have very little news and other information about society available to them. This also makes local news reporting difficult, as staff are not able to communicate or understand their perspectives on current events. This scarcity means that the majority of the populace relies heavily on these few sources for news and updates, making them particularly susceptible to biased information. Additionally, regardless of language, internet access is sparse. Thus, local hearsay becomes a primary source of information, often carrying with it unchecked facts and heavily biased opinions that favor a pro-China stance. This environment creates fertile ground for misinformation to flourish. Narratives that highlight the benefits of Chinese investments and downplay the associated risks are commonly propagated, painting a skewed picture of the geopolitical dynamics. The influence of this misinformation is profound, shaping public opinion and often obscuring the risks and downsides of the Solomon Islands' relationship with China. As Jeremiah Manele steps into leadership, understanding and addressing the roots of this pro-China support will be crucial. His government faces the challenge of navigating a landscape where public perception is significantly influenced by controlled media narratives and economic dependencies. As Jeremiah Manele steps forward to lead, his administration holds the weighty responsibility of addressing these critical issues. The questions remaining: is there a future of independence from dominant foreign influences, be it China or Western corporate interests? The Solomon Islands, rich in culture and diversity, stand at a crossroads where the decisions made today will shape the nation for generations to come. Can the Solomon Islands forge a path that respects and preserves the rights of its indigenous people, their languages, and their traditional ways of life? Is there a way for nations like the Solomon Islands to prosper and empower local communities without having to bargain with totalitarian powers like China or Western forces that may not have the best interests of the Solomon Islanders at heart? These are questions that will have to remain for the near future, as we see what direction their new government will take, and if they manage to solve their massive social problems. For more news with challenging perspectives, overlooked views, and in-depth explorations of unusual subjects, please subscribe to our channel and check out our previous videos.